What if your country was suddenly banned from entering the United States? No warning, no second chances. That's exactly what's happening in 2025. Former President Donald Trump is back, and this time, he's not just talking tough. He's signing proclamations, cutting off visas, and naming names.
President Trump's travel ban has come into effect, with the order primarily impacting countries in Africa and the Middle East. 12 countries face full bans, Iran and Afghanistan identified by the Trump administration as sponsors of terrorism.
10 Asian countries are now either banned, blacklisted, or sitting on the edge of total exclusion. And if you think this only affects governments, think again. Entire families, students, workers, and refugees are getting caught in the fallout. In Trump's latest crackdown, national security, immigration enforcement, and foreign policy have collided into one powerful weapon: exclusion. We're counting down the top 10 Asian countries Trump doesn't want in the U.S. anymore, starting with a nation that quietly slipped onto America's blacklist after an explosive overstay scandal. Number 10, Cambodia. Cambodia's quiet descent into America's crosshairs began with a number: 34%. That's the staggering visa overstay rate U.S. immigration officials reported in early 2025, one of the highest in Southeast Asia. The Department of Homeland Security didn't take it lightly. Cambodia was slapped with a 60-day warning to fix the issue or face full visa suspensions. The real tipping point? Homeland Security's 2024 audit revealed hundreds of undocumented Cambodians living across U.S. cities like Lowell, California, and Houston. Combine that with ongoing concerns about identity fraud and weak border controls, and Cambodia went from low profile to high alert overnight. Trump's reaction was fast and blunt. In June 2025, he invoked Executive Proclamation 11477, triggering what insiders called an instant blacklist status. Cambodian officials rushed to Washington to mend diplomatic fences, but the damage was done. U.S. consulates were quietly ordered to reduce visa issuance by over 70%. For Cambodian families in the U.S., it's a nightmare. Students have had their F-1 applications frozen, workers are being denied extensions, and entire communities now fear deportation raids and visa denials. Cambodia may not dominate headlines, but behind closed doors, it's become a cautionary tale of what happens when Trump decides a country is no longer welcome. Number 9, North Korea. North Korea has long been in America's crosshairs, but Trump's 2025 travel blacklist has made the isolation official. Under the new executive proclamation, all non-diplomatic travel from North Korea is now barred, citing national security threats and a complete lack of cooperation with U.S. vetting systems. While North Korean citizens were rarely granted visas before, this move seals the door entirely, and for good. The U.S. State Department reports 0 active North Korean visa approvals since early 2024. And DHS officials say Pyongyang's cyber attacks and missile provocations make even humanitarian exceptions too risky. In fact, North Korea is now classified under the highest threat tier for foreign vetting failures, a level shared only with war-torn nations like Syria and Iran. This is less a travel policy and more a permanent freeze. But this decision also affects the few North Korean defectors who've made it to safety in the U.S. Legal advocates say reunification with family is now nearly impossible, and asylum backlogs for Korean nationals have spiked by 46% since the proclamation. In Trump's version of foreign policy, rogue regimes aren't just punished, they're erased from the guest list entirely. Before we uncover the next country, hit that subscribe button, like, and hit the notification bell. It's your ticket to the stories no one else dares to tell. The more you support, the more truths we expose. Number 8, Syria. Syria is no stranger to being on America's Do Not Enter list, and in 2025, it's back with full force. Trump's updated travel ban explicitly names Syria as a national security threat, citing not only its ongoing civil war, but also the persistent infiltration risks from extremist groups. According to CBP, over 90% of Syrian travel applications were already being denied prior to the announcement. Now, even that slim window has slammed shut. The ban includes all types of visas: work, student, family reunification, even medical emergency requests. Critics argue that this will leave countless Syrian refugees in limbo, especially those already vetted and approved by the United Nations. But Trump's administration defends the decision, pointing to the resurgence of ISIS-linked cells in northern Syria and attacks on U.S. bases in the region. Human rights groups warn that the new ban could trigger a surge in illegal migration attempts, especially through Europe or Latin America. With the legal pathway erased, desperation often leads to dangerous alternatives. For the Syrian diaspora, the message is loud and clear. Under Trump's policy, there's no coming home to America, not even if you've already started packing. Number 7. Pakistan. In 2025, Pakistan is one of the most high-risk countries on Trump's immigration radar. A senior DHS official told Reuters that Pakistani nationals were among the top targets in a forthcoming executive order aiming to expand travel bans to new nations. Behind the scenes, intelligence officials have raised concerns about alleged visa fraud, terrorism links, and weak identity vetting processes. But this isn't just speculation. It's backed by concrete moves. Reports indicate that Pakistani nationals could face a total visa freeze within the year, with temporary protection stripped and consular interviews halted. Pakistani families living in the U.S. are already seeing delays, denials, and in some cases, outright deportation proceedings. The political optics are impossible to ignore. Trump's team is emphasizing national security, but critics argue it's part of a broader anti-Muslim posture. In the past, Pakistan was a close security partner, but under Trump's new playbook, it's being painted as a liability. This shift has sparked backlash both in the U.S. and abroad. Pakistan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs called the potential ban discriminatory and harmful to bilateral ties. But for now, Trump seems determined to follow through, regardless of the diplomatic fallout. Number 6. China. China may be America's biggest geopolitical rival, and under Trump's revived immigration agenda, Chinese citizens are facing historic restrictions. In May 2025, Senator Marco Rubio announced that the administration had begun revoking thousands of student visas, citing espionage risks and ideological subversion. This move followed Trump's own proclamation linking Chinese nationals to cyber threats, academic theft, and foreign influence campaigns. Nearly 14,000 students were affected in the first wave of cancellations, sparking protests at U.S. universities and outrage in Beijing. Chinese tourism, business, and academic exchanges are all taking a hit. From venture capital restrictions to STEM research bans, the administration is tightening every channel of Chinese entry. Trump supporters call it necessary national defense. Critics call it xenophobic and economically reckless. What makes China's case unique is the sheer scale. It's not just about banning a few diplomats or asylum seekers, it's about severing ties with one of the largest immigrant populations in the U.S. And with tensions over Taiwan, AI, and trade surging, this clampdown could be just the beginning. Trump's message is clear. If you're connected to China, you're under suspicion. And for tens of thousands of Chinese nationals living legally in the U.S., that message is chilling. Number 5. Yemen. Yemen's inclusion on Trump's travel blacklist is not new, but it's now deeper, broader, and more permanent than ever before. In 2025, Yemen remains engulfed in a brutal civil war, with U.S. intelligence warning of terror networks exploiting the chaos to stage attacks. Trump's administration has reinstated a total travel ban on Yemeni nationals, citing national security threats and a near-total collapse of document verification systems. The consequences are staggering. U.S. embassies in the region have stopped processing most visas, and humanitarian waivers have become rare exceptions. Yemenis fleeing war and famine now find U.S. borders completely sealed, even when family members are already living legally in the states. The policy doesn't just target individuals, it punishes an entire population. U.S. universities have reported a 98% drop in Yemeni student applications in 2025, and nonprofits working in resettlement say even approved refugees are being turned away at ports of entry. In Trump's eyes, Yemen is simply too unstable to trust. Critics argue that the ban only worsens the humanitarian crisis, isolating families and turning away the very people trying to escape extremism. But for now, Yemen remains one of the most comprehensively excluded nations on Trump's 2025 immigration map. Number 4. Iran. Iran's relationship with the United States has gone from tense to toxic, and Trump's policies in 2025 reflect that sharp decline. Following a series of arrests and immigration raids in early June, Iranian nationals have seen their U.S. visas revoked en masse. Citing espionage threats, Trump's team has reinstated a near-total ban on new visas from Iran, including for students and skilled workers. Data from CBP shows over 1,400 Iranians were denied entry or had their visas canceled in just 1 month, marking the highest rate since 2018. Even dual nationals have reported being detained or turned away upon arrival at U.S. airports. The crackdown comes amid rising tensions between Washington and Tehran over missile development and regional proxy wars. Human rights groups have raised alarm over the targeting of ordinary Iranians, particularly students and researchers. Universities say Iranian STEM students, who make up a significant portion of doctoral programs, are disappearing from labs and lecture halls overnight. Trump's stance: Iran represents a persistent and unpredictable threat, and in this immigration war, even highly vetted individuals are being swept up in a zero-tolerance policy that prioritizes ideology over identity. Number 3. Myanmar. Myanmar's inclusion in Trump's blacklist stems from its ongoing humanitarian catastrophe and alleged ties to extremist networks. The U.S. State Department has repeatedly warned of security risks stemming from military crackdowns on minority groups, including the Rohingya. Trump-era officials argue that Myanmar lacks the vetting infrastructure needed to reliably screen visa applicants, making it a prime target for travel bans. In June 2025, the administration cited non-cooperation on repatriation and terrorism concerns as grounds to suspend all non-essential visas. Myanmar nationals now face extreme scrutiny, especially in asylum and student visa categories. Advocacy groups claim this blanket restriction unfairly targets innocent civilians while doing little to address root causes. Compounding matters is Myanmar's collapse in governance. With parts of the country effectively controlled by militias and rebels, the U.S. sees any travel link as a potential threat vector. Experts also worry about passport fraud and the ability of Myanmar's government to track its nationals abroad. What makes Myanmar's case especially volatile is the combination of geopolitics and humanitarian crisis. While some countries on the list are blacklisted for political reasons, Myanmar's placement reflects a deep distrust in its institutions. And under Trump's order, it may be years before that trust is rebuilt. Number 2. Afghanistan. Afghanistan's status under Trump's immigration policy took a drastic turn after the termination of Temporary Protected Status, TPS, in early 2025. This policy shift immediately affected over 30,000 Afghans who had sought refuge in the U.S. since the Taliban's return to power. The administration argued that TPS had become a loophole for extended stays despite changed conditions on the ground. In March, Trump officials went further, proposing a full ban on new visas from Afghanistan, citing terrorism threats and the inability to verify background checks reliably. The move followed reports of rising influence from al-Qaeda-linked groups within Afghanistan's borders. Homeland Security labeled Afghanistan a high-risk zone, justifying stricter restrictions. This decision sparked outrage among Afghan-American communities and refugee organizations. Critics pointed out that many affected individuals are women, children, and former U.S. allies. The blanket approach, they argue, punishes the vulnerable rather than targeting specific threats. Despite public outcry, Trump's team remains firm. They've stated that national security trumps compassion in this new policy era. Afghanistan may once again find itself isolated, not because of its people, but because of the forces that now control its future. Number 1. Laos. Laos has quietly become the most glaring example of Trump's new hardline stance. Why? Because of one number, 34%. That's the staggering visa overstay rate for Laotian nationals in the U.S., according to a 2025 DHS memo reported by Reuters. That figure shocked even seasoned immigration officials and prompted an immediate review of Laotian travel privileges. Unlike countries with active conflict or known terrorism concerns, Laos wasn't expected to land on any blacklist. But when DHS flagged Laos as one of the worst offenders of U.S. immigration law, the Trump administration acted quickly. By May 2025, Laotians were no longer being issued non-immigrant visas, effectively closing the door for students, tourists, and even business travelers. The consequences have been severe. Families with members still abroad have been stranded. Laotian American business owners who rely on connections to Vientiane are suddenly cut off. Even cultural exchange programs have been halted, fueling outrage from diaspora groups across California and Minnesota. And unlike some bans, this one didn't come with a warning or a phase-out period. Advocacy organizations say they were blindsided, and legal aid groups are now scrambling to help Laotian nationals already in the U.S. avoid detention or deportation. For Laos, the American dream was severed with the stroke of a pen. Trump's team argues it's about upholding immigration integrity, but critics say it's a political stunt wrapped in a security excuse. Whatever the motive, the impact is real. And Laos now finds itself as the #1 country Trump doesn't want entering the United States. This list wasn't based on hearsay, it's unfolding in real time. Families torn apart, students blocked mid-semester, businesses stalled overnight. Trump's 2025 immigration policy is no longer about walls, it's about lists. Banned countries, terminated visas, zero tolerance. The question now isn't just who's on the list, it's who's next. If you found this video eye-opening, hit that like button and subscribe for more breaking stories the mainstream media won't show you. Comment below, do you think this travel crackdown makes America safer, or is it crossing the line? Your voice matters, and we're just getting started.